I feel like a lot of women entrepreneurs, they do not know how to tell their stories. Some of them do not show up on social media. But the truth is, if you don't tell your story, how will people know what you do? Right?
Right.
And I find that a lot of women do not tell their stories. They're just always like, oh, my business is just a small business.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Startup Sandwich Podcast. I'm your host, Ric Phillips. Today, we're going to talk to, and correct me if I'm wrong with your pronunciation, my dear, Abimbola Akinnuoye.
Yes.
Pretty close?
Correct.
Thank you so much. The theme today we're talking about is the rise of women entrepreneurs. We're going to learn a lot about not just you, but your perspective of women in the entrepreneurship space. We're all looking forward to this. I want to start off with a burning question, if I may. Is entrepreneurship, in your opinion, still the right path for women, or has it slowed down?
Thank you so much, first of all, Rick, for having me here. I love the name of the podcast to start with.
Thank you.
And of course, I'm talking about two of my favorite topics, women and entrepreneurship. Is entrepreneurship the right thing for women to do? I think yes, because ownership is always important. With the way corporate is going, having a 9 to 5, the instability in the corporate world would definitely make me also tilt towards answering that entrepreneurship could be and should be the thought of every woman out there.
That's a bold statement. Let us talk a little bit about some myths that might be out there concerning women or even men in entrepreneurship. What are some myths that you have found to be, obviously not true in your journey of women in entrepreneurship? What's a couple of things that stand out for you?
Well, I would say one myth for me is that women do not support women. I know a lot of people always say that, but I found that like in my journey, growing up or even coming to Canada, I found that, I have like reason because some other women have extended a hand to me or shown me the way. I think that's one myth I would like to put away, that, women do support women. Another thing would be, and I don't know if it's a myth, but it's a truth. I feel like women are very over-mentored and underfunded.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of female founders do not raise money as quickly as most of their male counterparts. So
why is that? Why is it that what you're seeing is that a lot of the female entrepreneurs are not raising as much money or maybe as quickly as their male counterparts? Why is that?
To be honest, that question is very many-sided for many reasons. As somebody who runs a pitch competition that supports women in business, a lot of companies, I don't know, maybe it's that they just shy away from the fact that, okay, it's women. Although everyone says, oh, we have a women entrepreneurship program. We have grants for women in business. But I feel like put your money where your mouth is, So I would say that that's one of the things that I have found personally. How are women not able to raise as much money as men is also because I feel like women are not as some women, not all women, of course, are not as bold as men.
Mm-hmm.
Women that have great businesses that could become billion-dollar businesses, they think of their businesses, for example, as small businesses. And, it's also a known fact that, what a man can easily say, oh, yeah, I can do it. A woman will probably take like 3 times to think about, oh, yeah, I can do it, but I need to figure out this. I need to figure, women just don't jump and go unlike men.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another thing. And I hope a lot of women, especially watching or listening to this, would always ensure that they take the first step forward. Even if you don't feel fully prepared or ready, just take a step forward.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my encouragement to women listening and watching.
Very good. So at least take that first step. It reminds me of one of my favorite sayings. It's a bit of a silly idiom. It says, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Exactly.
And I thought, the first time I heard that, oh, wow, that's such an amazing visual, right?
Yep.
But that maybe sometimes is it. Don't look at the whole elephant. Just look at that first bite.
Yeah. And, I feel like little steps, you definitely get to your destination. It might be slow. It might not be as fast as you would like, but eventually you would get there.
Mm-hmm. Very good. With women in entrepreneurship, you mentioned earlier that you believe women are supporting each other. Does that mean in the entrepreneurial space, you're finding that women are collaborating and supporting each other as well here in Canada?
Oh, yeah, sure. And in answering that question, it will take me back to the beginning, and I like to tell the story of how Leading Ladies Connect started. For those watching that don't know about Leading Ladies Connect, of course, we're an organization committed to amplifying women, providing access to capital, and also, just amplifying the voices of women in general. Leading Ladies Connect started in Montreal, actually. I used to live in Montreal in 2019. That was when the idea came to me. First, of course, I had just immigrated here from Nigeria. And I was just looking for resources, basically, like how do I start a business? What kind of business should I start? Where do I get information on filing my taxes? As a new immigrant, it was very difficult. And I realized, when I got my first job, my coworker also was a woman who had the same challenge as me. And, I found that I had another friend at church who had the same challenge. Like, oh, me too, I don't know where to go. I've been here for like 3 years. I haven't really done much. I just been working my corporate job. And that was kind of like how it started. Like, we got 3 of us and then we became like 4. So I would say that journey really taught me about how, even when we're going to do our first event ever in Montreal, a lot of the women came together. It was very collaborative. We had the event. The person that made cocktails brought cocktails. The person that makes that had a small catering business. We're all able to come together to have a very successful event because we're very collaborative. And I think it's the same thing. Of course, moving here in Toronto is slightly different. I always say that Toronto is very different, but
Oh, you have to say how so. You have to tell us. You have to tell us how so.
I think because here people are a lot more ambitious and, everybody's just on their own grind. But in Montreal, people are slightly laid back, just minding their little business. But I would say that I've also enjoyed, a bit of collaboration really with like female founders here and even organizations as well, supporting women. But I think that women do support women, but I think it's also nice to find the right circle where you find your own, at least group of women that you guys know that, okay, we're all in this together, we're accountable, we help each other to grow and expand our businesses as well.
So as you were growing up your entrepreneurial journey in Canada, you had a choice. You could either find an existing community and join.
Yes.
Or you could build one yourself.
Yes.
So which one did you do?
Well, I'm doing both, I would say. But I think that, of course, creating spaces that I wish I had is the reason why I started my own community. And of course, from the story I told earlier, you are able to see the reason why. Because it was prevalent that everybody was looking for like community. And I feel like we are not even made to do life alone. Entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey. If you don't ask the right questions, if you don't have information, you might just end up, wasting a lot of time, money, resources that could be available when you're in community, right? So I would say that I chose the path of building mine because I wanted something like what I've created right now. And then I would say that I also joined other communities, of course, to learn other things about other people, to learn and find other people that maybe may not be like me, for example, or they are also like, of course, building for other people that could eventually become part of my own community as well. So there are so many other helpful communities that are around that, you could look up. But if you want to join a community, you're a woman in business, you're a professional, you're always welcome to join Leading Ladies Connect, of course.
Nice plug. Let's talk more about it. So what can they get if they join? So let's talk, like we talked about general ideas of community and help, but what specifically would they be able to attain?
Okay, so for us, our 3 major pillars would be access to capital, visibility, and of course, amplifying the voices of the women. Access to capital, I think we've done that successfully by providing resources where there are grants, funding, loan. We've collaborated with a lot of organizations that also provide this infrastructure, from the BDC, to TD Bank, just financial institutions, Meridian as well. Shout out to our sponsor. They are able to provide the women with resources that could help them expand their ideas, set up maybe like a brick and mortar, for example. We've also gone to do a lot more workshops on things like, finding the right accountant, how to position your branding, and so on. So I think that the resources that are available in community, they are enormous. For us as well, we also do a lot of like media for the women, because I feel like a lot of women entrepreneurs, they do not know how to tell their stories. Some of them do not show up on social media. But the truth is, if you don't tell your story, how will people know what you do, right? And I find that a lot of women do not tell their stories. They're just always like, oh, my business is just a small business. So we help them with that visibility as well. Of course, in the community, we have our own podcast where we tell the stories of women, called Legacy Conversations. We partner up with media companies as well to do like content day, for example, where they could get their headshots, videos, tell their brand stories and so on. So, I mean, there are so many things that you can benefit, of course, apart from the fact that you do have the community of women in business at different stages as well. We have workshops, we have the pitch competition, and we have our major conference that comes up every year. This year is May 2nd, so you guys are invited to join us. And that is in partnership with Microsoft because we want to teach more women about AI and the future of work and scaling successfully, because a lot of people are still of course, AI is a new concept, but I think the earlier we get on it, the better. I am very heavy and very interested and involved in technology. I like to use technology to my advantage. It helps me save time. It gives you resources that you need. So that's one of the major things that we do, for example. Like, we want to bring more women in the room to learn about how they could leverage AI, what the future of AI looks like, what tools and resources are available by Microsoft that could help them in their lives and businesses as well.
Right. And so you're bringing all these different types of workshops and programs and communities to help them fill the gaps that they might have, and also to encourage them to speak up more and to tell their story more. It was interesting when you're talking about AI and technology. I also thought that, I guess, stereotypically speaking, we think of more men going into STEM roles and maybe having a bigger group of men into those engineering and IT spaces. But it's wonderful you're saying, no, I like it. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to introduce it to my group as well.
Yeah. And the funny thing about, I know that traditionally, honestly, I feel like tech used to be very male focused, but now you find a lot of female product managers, project managers, business analysts. So shout out to the women taking on tech. And part of the resources we provided last year, of course, was a partnership with an organization called Skill Hard. Skill Hard helps people get into tech roles. We partnered up with them to help as many women to get into like product design, UX design, project management, business analysis and stuff like that. So those are kind of the things that we do in our community to help and support women as well.
I'd like to ask a slightly different question.
Sure.
You've mentioned a variety of partners, like big companies, well-known companies, et cetera, banks. Maybe there's entrepreneurs out there listening who are going like, wow, I'd love to have a bank or a company like Microsoft, support me in some way. Do you have any tips that you can offer the audience in terms of approaching these kind of big name
companies?
Yeah, for sponsorship or?
I feel like people ask me that question all the time. At this point, I should have a masterclass.
Yeah, maybe.
But anyways, I think one of the major things I always attribute to the fact that we're able to approach these big companies is the power of storytelling. To be honest, if I didn't tell my story about how I did this or how I help women, or women telling the stories for the organization, we didn't have credibility. We didn't have what I would call, for example, like a brag sheet, which is like, okay, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. If I don't present that to, for example, a Microsoft to say, I've empowered over 6,000 women online, or I've helped 100 women in person last year, I would not be able to ask them for this year. And building up until like everything that you've done, as much as I always encourage women especially, try to document, and of course entrepreneurs in general, try to document everything you do, because that way you are able to show, whether it's sponsors, partners, investors, that this is what I've done, this is what I'm capable of doing, and then they are able to know, okay, what, we're going to put our name on this, or we're going to put our money, or even if it's in-kind sponsorships.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the best ways to actually secure brand trust with the so-called big names.
Yeah. That's great. So far, really great advice for our entrepreneurs. The idea, tell your story and get it out there every chance you can. The brag sheet, the podcast interviews, and the other side, it's data. Database, numbers, keep track of your numbers, make sure you put them together to add that credibility when you are trying to make these partnerships.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And it's even important also to have traction. Of course, you work in this entrepreneurship space as well. Most investors want to know how many people are, for example, on your wait list? How many people have tried your product? How many units have you sold, for example, for those that have product-based businesses? So it's very important that, entrepreneurs take record, have statistics to show anyone who's interested in knowing about your business or even investing or putting their weight behind it.
Yeah, for sure. I want to backtrack a little bit and talk about your first steps on the entrepreneurial journey. Was this something that you stumbled across in Montreal for the first time? Was it something back in Nigeria you stumbled across? Did you have family who are entrepreneurs? I'm just curious how you got into entrepreneurship in the first place.
Yeah, sure. It's one of my I feel like I can't remember how early in life I got started in entrepreneurship. It's so funny. I was interviewing someone on my podcast as well, and the person told me about how they started entrepreneurship when they were like 7.
Mm,
And they were like, "Oh yeah, can I clean your shoes and then you pay me some dollars or
yeah,
some cents?" And
yeah.
I'm like, "Wow, that's wild." But anyways, I would say I started my entrepreneurship journey when I was in college. I think in my first year, I would say. Then I used to sell like clothes, shoes, bags. Then my mom used to like go to all these other countries and bring stuff back to Nigeria. And then it wasn't really like commonplace in Nigeria. Like we don't have like, for example, the Zara's, H&M in Nigeria. And it was always so fascinating for people to see those kind of things because they look so nice and they were from like, they were foreign, right? So I think that's where I would say my first stint at entrepreneurship started. Like I used to sell clothes. A lot of people that actually know me properly. They know me from those days because I used to sell clothes, shoes, bags, style people and stuff like that. So I think that's where my entrepreneurship started. Both my parents are actually entrepreneurs as well. So I think maybe that might have also influenced it. My dad did have a corporate job, but he was also an entrepreneur because he had a business where he offered services to government agencies as
Right.
well.
So when you grow up with it, you're learning so much, whether you're trying to learn or not, you're just seeing it, you're hearing about it at the dinner table, you're learning.
Exactly.
Maybe that made you brave when it was your turn to try. You weren't as afraid of the failing, because maybe it's one of those myths that we're trying to bust, that maybe some women are more afraid than men to get into entrepreneurship because they have a bigger fear of what if I fail?
Right. I think honestly, I don't remember exactly who it was that told me about like how failing can be viewed, but I think that um there's a quote I saw somewhere. I'm just trying to frame it in my mind. I know what I'm about to say, but it's like when you say, "Congratulations if you failed, at least you tried."
Mm,
Right? As an entrepreneur myself, I feel like a lot of people definitely will attribute the fact that, "Oh, you're such a serial entrepreneur." I feel like I've done everything. I've sold clothes, I've done styling, I had a laundry service business, I've done party, event planning, I've tried quite a number of things myself. So it kind of, and those experiences are not wasted because it helps me understand different stages of entrepreneurship. Because like when I'm talking to entrepreneurs every day now, which I spend most of my day doing, talking to female founders. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I've been doing this for so long. It's not working out. I've not been able to get enough numbers." For example, and I was sharing with you earlier about how, I started a podcast. It's been a year and it was like over a year that we actually got about 1,000 people to actually subscribe to the channel. So imagine how long it took to get to that number.
mhm.
If I stopped like producing the episodes, for example, because I didn't get enough numbers, then how will I get there?
Right.
Right? So I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes feel like, "Oh, I've tried this for so long," and then they give up easily.
Yeah.
I would like to encourage entrepreneurs to keep at it because, to be honest, I feel like you might not exactly see the results immediately,
Right.
but I think trust compounds.
I do want to talk about the podcast a little bit more. First of all, what's the name of the podcast?
Okay, so when we started out, it was Leading Lady Talks, which was very female focused, but eventually it evolved into Legacy Conversations.
Mhm.
And Legacy Conversations, just as the name implies, is like we're trying to document the stories of people that have done very well and telling the stories of who made them what they have become. So when we sit down with thought leaders, politicians, government agencies, people that are thought leaders, we are also able to dive deep into who they are as individuals and, the success stories, the failure stories as well.
Right.
For those kind of people. And, you can check us out. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, everywhere you listen to and stream podcasts as well.
And video as well on YouTube, you said as well. Yes, very good.
It's also on YouTube as well.
So the reason why I want to talk about podcasts a bit more is because I know that a lot of entrepreneurs talk about the idea of podcasts. I mean, first of all, they're listening to podcasts, maybe like ours and yours, but also they're thinking about their own. And as you said earlier, sometimes people give up too early, perhaps. So
Right.
I do want to talk about this a bit more. I think it's good information for our audience. Do you have a strategy in terms of how many per week or per month videos, or how long your videos are? Like, what's kind of working for you in terms of some bit of advice we can give to other podcasters out there who are just starting?
Okay, so podcasting, first of all, is not for the faint-hearted because it is tough. And you need to map out who your audience is. Who are my listeners or my watchers or my viewers, whatever it is. You can start slower. Like for me, for example, when we started leading ladies talks, we used to shoot like 6 episodes, but I used to release my episodes bi-weekly.
Mhm.
So it means I would only release 2 episodes in a month. And then when I shoot those 6 episodes, I have content for 3 months, right? It was very expensive. And then for a while, I think I took a short break because, of course, the production cost was a lot. So what I would advise anyone who is maybe starting out or listening is, first of all, identify who your audience is. Find ways to connect to them so they are able to come back. Look, they're like, at this point, I don't even know. There are probably like 2 billion podcasts right now because I feel like
There's
every
lots.
time I open my Instagram timeline, I see so many people talking about different things. So you need to be able to stand out with your podcast.
Right.
You need to have, like, if possible, I know I don't really like to say niche down, but try to find what makes your audience come back to your podcast. Listen to it, watch it, refer it to other people. Provide people with valuable information. I know there are podcasts that focus on just chit-chatting.
Right.
That is okay too. But if you're asking people to give you 30 minutes of their time, 1 hour of their time, then you should be giving people value for their time.
Right.
What has worked for me would probably be also selecting the kind of guests that I bring on there. Everybody's important, but I feel some other people's stories need to be heard. And, there are people that want to listen to, want to hear from them. Like, we look at them as very successful, but behind the success is the man, is the woman who has, fought so many battles and remained resilient. So I would say that's another strategy for us at Legacy Conversation. Another thing is, well, because I really like quality work, the production is very high level. We use the best equipment, the best videography, microphones and everything, the setup of it. So, I mean, not everybody has that budget, but just try to put out excellent work that people would appreciate watching or listening to.
Right.
Don't be haphazard about it, and just try to keep the cadence as well. I think these are the things that I would say personally worked for me.
And produce on a regular basis.
Well, if you have the capacity.
Right. You don't want to put one video out every 6 weeks,
exactly, because I feel like it even annoys me when I listen to or watch like some of these YouTubers that come and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I've been away for so long. Be consistent or do not show up at all,
Right.
But I think that it's important that you're able to find what works for you.
Right.
Start maybe once in a month and then you increase the tempo as people ask for more episodes.
Yeah, makes sense. That's great. And I'm sure that some of the women that were in your various organizations and businesses and communities were able to be lucky enough to be invited on to your earlier podcasts and tell their story, right?
Yes. And honestly, I feel like even at this point, we kind of have like a wait list because like everybody, of course, like I said, everybody wants to be on the podcast, but we have to be able to have like something tangible to be able to share with our audience on the podcast. Like you want to hear stories of people that they inspire you with their success stories, their failure stories. Some of us are still on the way there.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you might not tell your story right now. Maybe eventually you can.
Right.
I mean, we all have unique stories, but I think that it's important that people are able to, properly like package or brand themselves before you are able to now say, oh yeah, I want to go on the podcast. Like I didn't start doing podcast until like this year. This is probably like my second podcast or third. Like you don't have to be everywhere.
Right.
Until when you're sure that you have something valuable to share with people.
Right. And then making sure that you get it out there too. Right. I think that's also something, if I can just share a quick story. Many, many years ago, I'm a communication coach and trainer when I'm not working with Yedi as an instructor. And many, many years ago, I got one of my first podcasts. I was invited as a guest and I was so excited. And the topic was something about public speaking or something, which is one of my specialities. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we talked for probably an hour and the guest never asked me about public speaking. because the conversation just went wherever it went. We talked about, people ask about how you got started in entrepreneurship or background. Well, then you get different directions. We ended up talking about confidence or something for 30 minutes.
Right.
And I was getting nervous because I knew the theme of the podcast was supposed to be me as some expert giving tips on public speaking.
Right.
And the whole podcast, we never talked about it once. So the very last minute of the podcast, you can hear me rushing, speaking quickly, kind of like going blah, 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 blah. Like, I just want to say a couple of because I was so, right? I'm just like, so I absolutely agree from your point of view is that not both ways. As if you can host a podcast, that's great. But if you're going to be a guest, and for our audience out there, if you're going to be a guest, make sure you know what you want to say. Make sure you've got your talking points.
Right.
You want to talk about your business and yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And just to add to what you said, I think the signs of a good conversation is when you don't know when time goes.
Yeah.
But the truth is also people feel like, okay, I'm listening. Where is the juice?
Right,
That kind of thing.
Yep.
But I think it's good to strike a good balance.
Yeah,
Anyways.
for sure. Oh, you mentioned earlier you like the name of the podcast, Startup Sandwich.
Yes.
Do you know
this
why?
podcast is called Startup Sandwich Podcast.
Do you know why? Do you know why we call it the Startup Sandwich? Do you know
No,
what?
I
will
like
tell
to
you.
hear it.
I will tell you because we think of entrepreneurship as a sandwich where you've got your foundation, like the bread,
Oh,
and you've got your potential meat and vegetables in the middle, which is your product, service, your substance, and some kind of secret sauce, which is usually some sort of innovation or something special. So I'd like to ask you, since we have talked about your foundation and we have talked about what you're doing in your business, what is your secret sauce? If you had to pick one thing that makes you or your businesses successful, what would that be?
First of all, I love the story of your podcast. I'm going to adopt it in one of my speaking. I really love that. But I would say that my secret sauce personally, Abimbola, would be the fact that I never give up. I think those that know me, my birthday dinners, people are like, oh, she's the most resilient person I know. I'm like, yeah, bring it on. Because I feel like I never really give up on something until when I feel like I have tried.
Mm-hmm.
I have given it my best. I'll keep at it for as long as to make it work. And if eventually it doesn't, that's okay too, because those experiences, they usually would be useful for something else.
Absolutely.
So I would say that's my absolute secret sauce. I never give up. And even some of these sponsors you're talking about, if you have direct conversations with some of the people that are my sponsors, like, oh yeah, she never gave up. She followed up. She called me. She texted me. She emailed me. And I'm like, yeah. That's it.
It's never done in one conversation, is
No.
it? Some people think, I'm going to call TD. I left a message. Okay, I'm done. That's it. They never called me back. That's it.
No. You need to be in their faces. Like when they sleep, they dream of you. When they open their eyes, they're like, you're here again. Why?
Right. Keep pounding them. Be resilient.
Right.
Be
So
a
I
hustler.
would say that that's like one of my absolute secret sauces.
No, very good. And just a follow-up question for the business model itself, because there is, at least as far as we know, government support, et cetera, for women entrepreneurs, et cetera. So what is innovative about what you're doing that's different from, let's say, what the government might be offering?
Honestly, I would say that, and shout out to the government, of course. The government in Canada really does support entrepreneurs. I've been in some of the announcements with like Wage, for example. For those that don't know what Wage is, Women Gender Equality by Minister Ric Phillips. They've pumped in so much money. I think it was about 181 million that was shared this year to support women entrepreneurs. There's also Minister Charmaine Williams that supports women and gender equality as well. Economic opportunity, for women in Ontario, for example. The government really does support women with all this funding. But I think for us at Leading Ladies Connect, giving women the community, the government cannot possibly give us community per se, if I would say so. But I think the community that we provide, the support that we provide is very different from what, I know of a lot of women organizations. I'm part of some. I go to events. People do invite me for stuff. There are some of them that we partner up with. And of course, all the work we're doing, we cannot do it alone, right? We partner up with organizations that, help amplify what we are doing. So I think that's what really, really sets us apart, because we are able to help you and provide resources that help you carry out or bring to fruition what you're being taught in the community as well.
Yeah, very important community. And you mentioned that you've got a conference coming up in May?
Yes, we do.
Is that online? Is that in person?
It's in person. So we have the Leading Ladies Conference coming up. It's the third one, the third year now. This is presented in partnership with Microsoft, and the theme for this is building to scale AI and the future of work.
Mhm.
So those three major parts of the conference this year, we're really focusing on AI. We're teaching women, we're providing them with tools that are available, the resources that Microsoft has to help them improve their business process. You can learn more about the conference or get tickets to attend by visiting our website, www.leadingladiesconnect.com.
Very good.
So you're able to find everything great. I mean, we have a lineup of women who are thought leaders in AI, the business space. Some of our speakers have sold their businesses. You know, one of our speakers, she sold her business for 12 million. The other, one of our speakers, Cynthia, she's raised over $1 million as a solo founder.
Nice.
So there are so many women that you can learn from, you know, processes to improve your business. And even if you don't have a business, just come network with over 220 women. You know, we have a great day lined up. Like there's like lunch, networking, and so on. So yeah.
What makes women great entrepreneurs? What's 2 or 3 things off the top of your head? They say this is why women can be great entrepreneurs. It's because of ABC. What is that?
Women are great entrepreneurs because we are nurturers. I think there's a very popular saying that if you give a woman a seed, she gives you something. If you give her a house, she makes a home. I think that would be the first thing for me. Like women times 100 everything, literally 10x stuff. Even statistics show that, you know, investors have proven that most female entrepreneurs, their businesses produce like 10x of like their return on investment, right? I think another thing that really makes women entrepreneurship a thing and a successful thing, I would say, is that women are usually very collaborative. Like we don't really fly solo. I mean, there are a few of us that do, but I think that power in community and collaboration usually would make businesses thrive. If you find somebody who is offering maybe a service or a product that complements what you do, that's one of the best ways to scale your business. Because then, if people are looking for example, your sandwich, right? If I'm selling tomatoes, you have lettuce. If we come together, then we have a great sandwich, right? So I think that's one of the ways that I would say that, you know, you are able to move forward and do better as a business owner. What other thing would I say? I think women are great entrepreneurs also because we usually, I mean, for those that have the right support and mindset, we hardly ever give up. You know, you find like women still keep pushing regardless. Apart from the fact that we have very limited resources, I find like women always make the most out of situations.
Very good. Excellent. I love it. Looking forward in the next, let's say, year or two, anything exciting on the horizon you want to mention about your business ventures?
Well, for us at Leading Ladies Connect, we are very heavy now on like capital, and of course visibility for the women in business. We hope to be able to set up like our own like funding stream where we are able to provide like resources like loan, grants to women in business and provide some sort of mentorship guidance and maybe like an academy that helps women to be fund ready, investment ready as well. We're already heavy on the visibility side. For example, we have our own podcast studio. We have like the media agency that we help women with creating their own stories. So you can always check out everything we have to offer on our website, which is www.leadingladiesconnect.com.
Nice. It's a great way to end it, Abimbola. So if anyone wants to reach out to you through the website or maybe are you on LinkedIn as well, for example?
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn. Honestly, I feel like all our social media platforms for the community is Leading Ladies Connect.
Right.
So whether you're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, there's so many platforms. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, our website, YouTube is all Leading Ladies Connect. Personally, my Instagram is Bimdiva, and then my name on LinkedIn.
Perfect. And you're happy with people reaching out to you and asking questions or trying to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm open to that.
Great.
I've tried to answer as many people as possible, but I mean, I am always happy to share resources,
Yes.
especially with like entrepreneurs
Yes.
or startup founders, because I spend most of my time learning about it anyway. So yeah,
Yeah.
always happy to connect and collaborate.
And give back to the community.
Yes. always.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Startup Sandwich. It's a pleasure to meet you, and good luck with everything in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was so delightful, and can't wait to see you guys in our community.
Sounds good. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you check out your podcasts. Until next time, keep turning small bites into big wins.